What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Wrenching Rat. Today, we're finally going to dig into this extra head. I don't remember where we left off. I think I said I was going to pull this head off, and the next time you see the bike, everything's going to be apart. So we did that again. I got really lucky on this. The exhaust is kind of a pain, but you can wrestle it free from the head. The bottom end of this on the base gaskets are fine. We got the brand new pistons in. Head gasket I didn't scrape or pull off yet. This has 1 day of run time on it, but you can see all the oil residue on the head here and the big puddle down here that I went through and cleaned up. So we need to get that addressed. And then I think I wrapped up the last video. While the carb was off, I had my hand over this and kicked through it, and I could build pressure and it would suck my hand in like it's supposed to. But if I held it there for a second, you could just hear air coming from somewhere. So it was like, psss. You don't want that. In my experience, it's not going to hold a perfectly tight seal indefinitely or vacuum indefinitely. But something was definitely leaking in the combustion track, if you will. So air comes in from the intake through the carburetor down into the cylinders. But if it's leaking down at all like that, as quick as that was, I'm kind of thinking we had an intake seal. So here are the old intake seals, and they're not super messed up. Like, there's a little nick right here. So there's another one here. Actually, these are not in that good of shape. This one's got some lines through the center, and they're a little dry. So these are cheap, easy. I think I got a couple of them over there in the bin. Actually, which ones are these? I think these are these the new ones or these are the old ones? No, I don't remember. These ones have a little bit of that dusting on them. I think these were the old ones. Yeah. See that right there? Hopefully that shows up. Focus, focus, focus. There's a big old gouge. These are the new ones. There's no major nicks. There's a couple indentations from whatever was sitting on top of these in there. And I also have a brand new set. That was my backup plan if I didn't get another set or find another set. I got a set of brand new ones. But if we look these ones over, this gouge right here, that one could actually mess things up a little bit. And I know these bikes and carbs are not carbs, but then this one we got some splitting at the center. Yeah, see, we got the center of the O-ring there is kind of peeling out. I didn't really look at these before we put it back together, so that could have been on me. But if there's an intake leak, it's gonna go lean 100%, especially during idle and startup. So hopefully that is part of the issue. And then on the intake, or the head itself, this is off, still leaking like a sieve. We got brand new pushrod tube gaskets in. There's a big puddle around that gasket, so we got to take a look at that. And I think we're just going to do a quick teardown on this head. I noticed one of the O-rings was leaking in the rocker shaft as well. Don't remember which. Oh well, either way, let me throw you guys up on the tripod. We're going to dive into the head, and then we'll come back to the carburetors probably in the next video. Let's take a look at this turd. I don't know why this is leaking. This is a brand new gasket. I'll put the carb stuff all on this end. Brand new gasket. 1/2-inch bolts all the way around on the head, or rocker box. Fancy chrome hardware at some point. Ooh, squished right out here. This is typically, this back corner. So the push rods, I'm backwards of what it would be if you're looking down from sitting on the bike. Here's how it would sit. This back corner is kind of where it seemed to squish out. So if we line this up push rod wise, I'm going to set something like this. Ooh, there's a little bit of a gap there. So the problem when you chrome your rockers, or have chrome rockers, they start flaking. When the chrome flakes, you can see the high shine chrome edges here. Not chrome here. There's definitely a gap to fill all the way around this. So I'm going to sand these down a little bit with a little zip wheel. knock down whatever high edges we can. Just feel all right, not crazy sloppy and loud. And maybe we'll grab the intake. I'll see if I got the push O-rings for the rocker shafts as well. That was a minor leak. It wasn't pouring out of here, but there was definitely a little bit of a trail. If you're gonna fix it, now is the time to do that. But this whole thing's covered in oil. I think that actually explains it. I went through and carbided these and scraped the crap out of them, but there's definitely when they chromed it, they chromed the entire thing right over the gasket surface, and that has lifted in several places. So we'll sand those down a little bit, and then we're gonna cheat it even more and use some RTV, because I do not want to have to do this again. Once is fun, twice is fixing your mistakes. Any more than that, I don't want to have to take this apart again. So we'll get these gaskets scraped up, sand these down a little bit, try and knock down some of that high edge coating from the chrome that's flaking off, and then reseal this thing up and put it back together. Heads are apart, got the bolts out. I had the compressor going, so used a little rubber gasket scraper cleaner thing. This cuts a little bit into the metal. It's not ideal when it spins, so got most of the high spots on the chrome on the heads knocked down, and then I kept going, and just while it's apart, I should have done this on the last one. This is what you get when you try and cut corners. You end up doing everything twice. But now that this is off, I decided I'd just pull the valves, and what I'm going to do is, ooh, I missed this little gasket set right here, but what I'm going to do now is take the head, and I don't have sandpaper today, so unfortunately I got to put this on pause, but when I come back tomorrow, I'll bring over a sheet of sandpaper, and we'll set it down on the bench, and I'll just kind of cut this. Essentially, if this, I don't know if I'm going to film this either, just because it's pretty tedious and boring. But if this peg mat here was a sheet of sandpaper, I'll use the bench and basically just kind of hand mill this on some sandpaper here. I think that should be all right. This spot's going to be a little goofy, but so I'll scrape off this little gasket bit, hit that real quick, do a couple passes right on the edge here. So I'll use the edge of the table and basically mill down or machine down the rockers over the sandpaper. And honestly, these heads are in pretty good shape. So I was looking at that. If you caught it in a time lapse, intake valve feels pretty good in here. But if you grab the end of the valve, this is what I was checking in the time lapse, checking for any side to side play. This one feels really good. The intake feels really, really good. We have no issues there. It's a little snug at the bottom, but that could be a variety of factors, and you're never really actually going to open the valve that far. So I think it's really just the ridge from the end of the valve here. So a little snug going through, but then it frees up. On the exhaust, this one, if we look at the end of the valve, you can see that polished edge. That's where the seating surface is. There's definitely some buildup and corrosion on here, or carbon buildup. So I am going to relap the valve on the rear just to clean that up a little bit more. So we'll do a quick lap on this valve and seat. And then as for the seats on the head, the intake seat is much cleaner. Let me grab a towel here. Give it a quick wipe down with a dirty towel. We got a nice clean line for where the valve seats on here. You can see that shiny part that's kind of reflecting off the light up there. That's kind of what you want. If you look at the exhaust, we don't have that. So we'll relap the exhaust valve. We'll probably just do a quick cut on the intake valve while we're doing it. So we'll relap the seats on this real quick and easy. Do I have my valve grinding compound here? Yes. So this is like sandpaper in paste form. So take some of this. It's really gritty. And I don't know if I'm going to use a drill or suction cup it. We'll probably just suction cup it because this really doesn't need much. Little wood stick. Where are my specialty tools? Also might actually still be at the shop now that I'm thinking about it. It is. So tomorrow we'll be back out here slapping these together. It's just a wood stick with some suction cups on it basically, but slap them in. And then only other thing that I did, if you haven't made one of these and you're playing around with head stuff, just take a piece of pipe and weld up a spark plug to it. It's not pretty by any means, but this is a shovel head one, so it's a long reach. I didn't do the other side, but I was going to save this side for the new style, like the Evos that use, I don't know what the size is on Evo plugs, the skinny ones. But the short reach and long reach, it's the same thread pitch on both. So this is the plug out of the bike. Obviously, longer reach, more meat in the head for threading and strength there. But these work pretty well. And then you can chuck this up in the vise sideways or vertically, however you need to do it, depending on what you're doing. And then you don't have to sit there wrestling with the head on the workbench. $3, $4 in parts, and a couple quick ugly welds. I didn't even try and make this thing look pretty, but sometimes it is cheaper to make your own tools. The only other one that I've done, powder coated highlighter yellow, because I somehow lost my first one. I don't know how you lose a socket this big, but same type of deal. This one was goofy. I had to use some extra parts, but for the big twin clutch, the sprocket nut on a big twin, this goes over the main shaft and just TIG weld it around it. Put this on here, cut the socket in half, that's why it's got the little beveled edge, and then used a 3/4 to 1/2 inch adapter at the end. I don't know, had this a couple years. It's bright highlighter yellow, it's a beading tool, it's a seal installer. Not good about keeping fancy things. I have a really nice version of those too. I don't want to use a nice one when I got a crappy beat up one that works. So that's kind of where we're going to leave this one off. I think we got the head disassembled. Valves are fine. Collars are good. We got all of them. We didn't lose anything. Other than that, quick little relap on the valves and the head. And then I might just do a quick little sandpaper scuff on the head too. And now I'm kind of wishing that I took the other one apart. But I don't know if I want to pull that other head off. There's a good chance that other head might come off. It's redundant. This one's not leaking and not giving me any issues. It's working perfectly fine. But I just feel weird doing only one. The rebuild doesn't take that long. I will not be filming the engine install because I already did that once. Didn't work, which is why we're back to where we are now. But there's a good chance that this front head will come off. While I'm at it, this took me, I I'm trying to see the timer, maybe a half hour out here just kind of messing around. And Dottie's working up at the shop full-time now, so she gets sick of having to see me all day and asked me to go do something else. So don't have to ask me twice. I think I got lucky. I can play out here all I want. Anyways, that's where we'll wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. We got more coming on this. Showed you guys what I'm doing on one head. Maybe I'll turn the camera on tomorrow and we'll wrap this video up. That would make a little bit more sense. If not, we'll catch you on the next one when it's all done. Said I wasn't going to film it, but sitting out here I got bored. The front one is substantially easier to pull than the rear. I don't have to fight the tank. I can get an electric ratchet in there to get the head bolts out. So we're done with that. Now everything is completely disassembled. Both rockers are off. I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild both the rocker shafts. So a couple O-rings on this side where the big nuts are. That's on the push rod side. We'll put some new O-rings in these and basically do a quick full refresh on this. And I have to go pick up the cylinders for the other ironhead, the girder that's up on the bench that I still gotta weld a bunch of motor mounts in for. That's on pause until this is done. I gotta shoot up there, and realistically, the intake valves are fine. I have no concern on the intake valves. The exhaust valves have a little tiny bit of play. Totally runnable. I would not do it otherwise, but this is the second time I'm taking these apart. And it's not like I need to get this thing back on the road to ride it anytime soon. So if I spend a little bit of time and get the motor dialed, I'm okay with that. So maybe I'll bring these with and see what we can do on that. If he has exhaust valve guides in stock, I might just punch some new ones in while I'm up there. If not, then we'll just send it as is. That's kind of how that's gonna play out. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the support. We'll be back tomorrow.